Hello, welcome to Blake's Den, Project Designer Episode 4. Today I'm spending a bit of time looking at the inner sills again on the driver's side. But what I want to do is I want to plate off this cross member and then be able to get the jacking point on. And I also want to put the seat belt anchor point back on. So I've made a template out of cardboard and then transferred that to a bit of steel. I'll put that into position, get that tacked in, check it for position. I'm happy with it. I'll probably then make the template out of card and out of steel for the bottom part of it. And if I'm happy with the fit, I'll get that welded up. Weld all around and get that into position. I also want to do the anchor point. I've already made the plate for that. And it should be a case of just positioning that and get it on. So once all that's done, I can then be happy. I can then start tackling the issues I've got with the step. So I jumped forward a few steps here, but there we are, all welded up. Still a little bit of tidying up to do. I didn't think it was that interesting videoing me cutting out bits of card and measuring up. Had a few problems. I blew a bit of a hole at the top there. Had to weld that. I welded it from both sides. I didn't put too much weld on because I'm conscious that the jacking point needs to go on there somewhere. So I'll probably put a bit more weld in once I'm happy with the position of this, that I know that I don't have to grind back too much and it's not going to be too much of a problem. Next job is to put the seatbelt anchoring plate on. So that's what I fabricated up. Just cut a bit of 1.8 plate down, which I had in, welded the nut on. And that's got to go on that hole there, a bit like that. There's a bit of playing around I need to do with the position of it. The hole is bigger on the pattern sill than on the original sill, so I think there's a bit of scope for moving that around. Actually, it goes that way around. Yeah, must weld that on the right way around. Get that in the right place. I'll just use the opposite side as a template to work out where it exactly should be. So I don't want it too far forward or you end up catching your foot when you get in the back, too far back. You're pulling the seat belt at the wrong angle. So that's 1.8 plate. That stuff's just 0.8. Again, I just some 0.8 sheet, just cut it down to size, put it in. So right, let's get this seat belt mount into position. I've cleaned up the sill here under the companion box, and I don't think it shows too well on this video, but it's not actually too bad. I think a bit of rust converter on it. It seems solid, there's no pinholes in it. It gets a bit worse at this end, needs a bit more tidying up. The worst bit here was this bracket. Just got a screwdriver behind it, and the whole thing just came loose straight away. I think it's actually blown a hole through to the companion box on the other side. If we have a look down there, just that bottom corner, yeah, I can see the light shining through from the inspection lamp below, but you've got that big rusty bit sort of in that area there. So we'll cut that out, plate it up, and yeah, see if there's any more bits need cutting out of that end. So I've cut away that bracket and I've got a bit of a problem. So what you can see here is the back of the heel board. It has this return on it which runs along and welds onto the inner sill, and it's got two captive nuts there with the subframe bolting through on the other side. So you can see behind it we've got a massive hole now. It just completely crumbled away. We've still got quite a lot of frilly metal running up behind here. But basically I'm going to have to cut some more of this off. What I think I'm going to have to do is then cut that off, plate up behind the sill, and then plate up what's left of this to replace the metal I'm cutting out. But it's actually just proven to be really difficult to get into cut it at the moment, so I think I'm going to have to break out some of the special tools to get this out. I have cleaned it up with a wire wheel on the drill, and I'm happy that the rest of it is pretty solid. So yeah, it's just a case of trying to work out how to do this. Just so you understand what I'm looking at, if you look at the parts diagram, you can see that that's the heel board there, and then you see it's got these two sort of returns on it. That is the bit I'm sort of cutting at the moment. So obviously I need to put that strength back in to tie the heel board back into the body, otherwise there's potential for the subframe to come loose. So yeah, just trying to work out what to do next. So whilst I work out what I'm going to do with that, I'm going to get the seatbelt anchor plate welded in, just so I can get some progress done today. Then I'll come back to the other end of the sill and work out what I'm going to do. So that's the plate welded in, welded all the way down that side, all the way underneath, all the way down there. Obviously I can't do the top because you can't get in. The original one which came out only had a small tack, well not a tack, it's a small seam, probably less than 1 inch long, down both sides. So I'm happy that's going to be stronger than the original. In terms of positioning, I measured the one on the other side, which is still in, and then I lined it up, where's it, there, with the same points on the driver's side of the car. Now that hole doesn't look central, that's right, it matches the dimension on the other side, which I know matches the carpet on the floor, or the floor carpet, so I had to get that right. So I'm happy that's in the right place, I'm happy that's strong. Whilst I've been tidying up, I think I've found a couple of pinholes I just need to tidy up on some of the other welds, and then we'll tackle that bit with a heel board. So I've managed to hack a big chunk out there. I used a hammer and a chisel. I also used my hair powered saw, which I was quite impressed with actually, considering it cost me about £8. Yeah, it ran alright actually. So I need to do a little more cleaning up, and then what I'm going to do, I've got a piece of 0.8 sheet steel. I'm going to drop that in from behind, from the companion box. That's going to cover that up. I'm going to try and tack it into place, and then I'm just going to hammer this flat and get a nice tight fit. See how it looks, and then I'm going to put another plate on top of it, and that other plate is going to then be linked to the heel board, and that will replace the metal I've taken out there. So yeah, a bit more cleaning up, weld that in, and we'll see how she looks. So I'm fairly happy with how that's gone in. It's not going to be an amazingly clean or tidy repair, but it's going to be a solid repair, and that's exactly what I need. This is going to be hidden inside the sill, and it's going to be hidden in the companion box, so you're not going to see it. The next steps I need to do is to put a plate in here, sort of cover this area, sort of ground those welds back so they're really flat. I'll get another plate, it'll probably go a bit thicker, probably won't go 2 mil, I think I've got some 1.2 or 1.6. Get that in, I'll hammer that bit down, which was part of the original flange off the heel board I'd cut off, so I'll hammer that down, I'll weld all that on, big plate in there, and that's going to be solid, and it shouldn't go anywhere. I might just blitz a load of etch primer on here before I put the plate on top as well, just to give it some surface protection should there be a small gap. So I've cleaned all that up, and I've got a piece of 1.2 mil mild steel plate, which I've pushed into position. I'm going to weld all the edges on that, weld it all up to put the strength back in, so then we've got 1.2 on the outside of the sill, and we've got 0.8 on the inside, so I'm happy that's going to give the strength and attach the heel board back onto the sill. I've also just dropped a bit of etch primer on as well behind it, so it shouldn't really corrode behind it. I'm going to weld that on. There's a little bit of a hole down the bottom there, a bit of corrosion when I was cleaning it up. I'll turn the welder down, fill that. Also as well, I want to do this patch here. I've made a curved metal patch which I can get in from behind. Basically I can't do it whilst holding the camera, but that patch will go in there from behind. I'll weld that in as well. I just need to clean up first because it's got a bit of corrosion on it. I've taken the door off because there's a few more patches like that along this end. So there's that one to do. Those two there as well. Those ones have actually gone along here as well. So I'm probably going to have to cut out a bit more than I want to create a piece with a fold in it. Tidy that up. But I'll get this bit done first. So yeah, get the welder onto it. So whilst I ponder what to do with the sill and the heel board, and why I even start this project, I decided to have a look at this area here, which is this big hole on the step. Tidied it up with my rotary tool with a tungsten carbide bit in it. This is fantastic. I bought this from Woolworths, which, considering they went bust in the UK about 10 years ago, I must have had this over 10 years and it probably cost me less than £10. It's a great little tool, especially when you've got these tungsten carbide bits and they'll just eat through metal. Almost a bit too well. You've got to be quite careful with them, you don't get too carried away. I've also got a die grinder, air power die grinder, but I just find this tool is easier to use. So I've cleaned all that up, nibbled back all the rust, and I think I'm going to try and do a repair from behind, because I can just about get in behind. I think if I can put a piece of steel in, slightly curved, follow that curve up to here, then weld it in, and then I guess I can just skim it with a filler. I don't want it too high or the door will not shut, but I'm going to have a go trying to make that now. So progress has been a bit slow the last few days, but I managed to get that welded in. Yeah, I'm quite happy with it at this end. That end, it's quite deeper than I wanted it to be. It's always going to need a skimmer filler, but I might have to put a bit more weld in that end just to build it up a little bit, just to reduce the amount of filler needed. Have made some progress at this end of the car, so I cut out the part of the step which was all quite crusty, so along that edge it was very poor and it had several holes in the top where the rain had been sitting on it, so I cut that out using the air powered saw and then tidied it up with the tungsten carbide bit on the Dremel. Now we just need to fabricate a piece to go in there. So I'm going to probably get some 0.8 and bend a flange on it, a return on it, to see if I can sort of replicate that step. My other option is, which I don't think is going to work, is to use some 2mm, so quite thick, put it in there. And then where the 2mm meets the edge, basically just weld the side of the 2mm. I'm going to have to weld, if I use 0.8, I'm going to have to weld along that edge anyway. So I'm just going to play around with some offcuts of steel I've got at the moment, make a cardboard template for what I need, fabricate what I need, and then hopefully get it welded in. So I made a cardboard template, roughly for the shape I needed to go in there. I got some 0.8mm sheet steel, cut it to the size required, clamped it in the vise and just hammered that over to create a flange. And that goes in there. I don't think it's too bad. There's a bit of a gap around it, but I need that to get the weld in, because I need to be able to grind back the weld to create a little curve to replicate that existing curve. So I need to get that in position, welded up. I've got a hole at that end which is a bit bigger than I want. I'll probably get some weld on that or seal it up with seam sealer when I'm done. Also, I've deliberately left it a bit overly long underneath. I'll get in position and I can always cut it back afterwards. I think it might foul when the new outer sill goes on. So yeah, I just need to get that in position, line it up, make sure she's nice and level, aligned with the existing part of the step. I'll get that tacked in, get that welded up, and then hopefully that'll look quite a smart repair. So I got that piece welded in. I'm quite happy with it really. That was the second attempt. First attempt, I blew a big hole with the welder. So I turned the welder down, welded all round, and then as I was grinding back the welds, didn't feel right, hit it with a hammer and the whole thing was just loose. The welds were just sitting on the surface. So welded in again. It's quite hard to see really, but I've got a fairly good profile I'm quite happy with. We'll need some filler on it. So yeah, really happy with that compared to how it was beforehand. Next job I want to do is get the jacking point on. I'm going to roughly put it in position underneath. Probably just tape it on. Check how the outer sill fits. And then if I'm happy with that, tack the jacking point into position. Check the fit of the outer sill again. And then weld it all around. If I don't do that, then I guess the hole on the sill won't line up with the jacking point. So that's the next job. Back when I started this project last year, I made that reference dimension, so that's 370 millimeters from the end of the wheel arch to the edge of the jacking point. So what I've done now is I've just taped the jacking point into position, and then I've actually put the outer sill on but just clamped it with G-clamp there. So in terms of alignment, at that end we're sort of pretty much flush with the edge there, so I'm happy with that. At this end here, it looks like it aligns up to me with the wheel arch. Obviously there's a patch I need to still put in there, but actually looking at the jacking point hole, there we are, you can see the jacking point inside there. If I just hold that up flush, that doesn't quite look right to me. I think it needs to move about 5 mil towards the rear of the car. So I'm going to trial that again with it in a different position and see how it looks. So that's the sill off. That's what the jacking point assembly looks like. Due to an ordering error, I've got 2 of them now for each side. I've got a genuine and a non-genuine one, so I've gone with a genuine one. And obviously I've just duct taped that on for now. I'll get it in the right position, I can mark it up, and then I can tack it in position, check it again with the sill, and if I'm happy with that final position, I'll get it fully welded up. There we are, that's looking a lot better now. It's a lot more central. So you can get the camera directly underneath, there we are. So yeah, I'll say tack that in position, check the sill fitment again, and once I'm 100% happy, I'll weld all around and get it nice and secure. So it's actually been a couple of weeks since I did the last video. I just haven't been able to get into the garage. Just life gets in the way. One thing I did want to do though, before I welded on the jacking point, I've just done some rust proofing or rust eater on the underside here. Went over everything with a wire brush first, painted on. I've used Hammerite Crust. To be honest, it's not the best product on the market, but it's something I had in. So you paint it on and it goes like this bluey black colour. I mixed up a bit too much, so I've literally just gone all the way along the sill and the wheel arches as well. So it goes that bluey black colour, then dries out, and it's supposed to do a chemical reaction to the rust. Once that's dry, I'm going to blitz it, this upper edge in here just with a load of primer. And that'll protect that, it's no longer bare metal. Then when I weld this on, the bit which is sort of hidden by the top of the mount there, that'll be nice and protected. If I hadn't done this beforehand, there'll be a bit there which will be exposed and with bare paint. Well, actually it wouldn't have any paint on it, it'd be bare sill. So do that first, then I can weld that on. There's a trial fit of the outer sill. Just got the G clamped on into position. This is to check that the jacking point's in the right place. But I just slide around here. can see the jacking point there. Looks about in the right place to me. What I've actually done is, if I just take the clamp off, put the sill down, I've got the jacking point in. I've literally just tacked it in position at each end for now. Happy with that position. I'm going to weld it fully into position. It's always best to just attack it, because if you're not happy you can grind the tacks off, move it along a bit. I did spend a lot of time getting that position right, using just masking tape in position, putting the sill on, taking it off again, tweaking it. But yeah, quite happy with that position, so we'll go ahead and get it welded in fully. So that's the jacking point welded on. Quite awkward to weld on really. I sort of welded down the wings on both sides, on the inside and the outside, underneath as well, and then along this top edge here as well. I want it to be strong. Personally, I never jack the Mini from the sill. I was jacking from the subframes, but I don't know what I'm going to do with this car yet. I might end up selling it in the future. I don't want the next owner to try jacking it from the jacking point and for it to fail. I think that's a good place to leave it for now, actually. I've still got to get the outer sill on. Still a bit of work to do with that, so I think I'll capture that in a separate episode. So thank you for watching. I hope you've liked it. I hope you've learned something. If you've got any comments, please post them below. So keep watching Blake's Den. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube. And yeah, we'll see you in the next video.